Hi, folks. This is Don Meisner with the North Country Fishing Report. You know, as much as I love fishing and as much as I think I get a bit better at it all the time through practice, through looking and listening and learning as I go, there's certain aspects of fishing that I'm not very good at. And so for this year, I want to improve some of these things. I'm going to learn from the experts. I'm going to do something better. Now, what is that one thing that I don't do a lot? I tell you about it, but I don't do it a lot, and that is drop shot fish. Now, in the St. Lawrence River, it's a deadly method to catch big smallmouth, little smallmouth, whatever size they might be, in the currents of the St. Lawrence River. And we pretty much associate, or at least I do, drop shot fishing with a incredible technique for our area. However, I believe that if I start getting more familiar and better at rigging up drop shot and fishing with them, then I think that I will become a better fisherman in the Grass River, in the Racket River, in these tributaries I fish, and maybe some of the little ponds or little lakes that I might go to. Because the real key to using a drop shot, and a lot of you might not realize this, and for those of you that don't even know what I'm talking about, a drop shot is a weight, and this is putting it very, very, very simply, but it's a weight at the end of your line, and then up your line a ways, your hook is tied to the line, and you have a small, in most cases, soft plastic bait that's tied to that small hook, and it sits there. Now, why do you want it that way? Because you don't want your bait on the bottom. You don't want the gobies hitting it, and you, most of the time, a lot of times anyway, you will be able to present that bait in a different way. Now, one of the real keys to presenting a drop shot bait is to keep it very, very still, motionless, and let the current, let the water move it so it looks like something just fluttering out there. You don't want to jerk it up and down and move it like we do other baits. And that's something that I'm not really good at. And even if I'm fishing swim baits now we're going to go away from drop shot fishing, but another thing I want to improve on is for the last, I can't tell you how many years, when I'm using a jig or a paddle tail swim bait of soft plastic of some kind, my just natural way of bringing it in is to jerk the rod as I'm reeling it. And I'm making it jerk from side to side or jump and do all kinds of things. Well, sometimes that's wonderful. And when it is wonderful, I catch a lot of fish. And sometimes I catch more fish than the people around me. But other times, the people around me don't do it the same way. And sometimes they catch a lot more fish than I do. So what's the moral of that story? What's the key to all this? Is that if you learn to vary your retrieve method, don't stick to the same thing all the time, because sometimes the game fish want something that's moving, that's jerking around, that looks like it's wounded, that's trying to get away. And other times they want something that looks subtle, like it's a fish part of a school. And fish, when they're swimming naturally, aren't doing all that moving and jerking and jumping. They swim very smoothly. And so I'm not presenting my lure very smoothly, and I need to learn or be patient and start trying new methods. I know a lot of times when fish are feeding on a school of bait, and I talked about it one time when my buddy Russ and I were up at Massaweepy, and we got into a school of bass on the surface, and it was just spectacular. But, and I say but, he was presenting his very same swim bait in a way different than mine, and he was getting more strikes because he tends not to jerk and jig and do all that. He just throws out, lets the bait go down in the water, and reels it steadily back. So maybe I should try fishing like Russ sometimes. Really, in all humor aside, I think it's important that we do concentrate and learn how to vary our retrieve. The other thing about that is that one species of fish will react to the very same lure in a positive way if it's fished a certain speed, a certain way. And then if you change that speed all of a sudden you might catch another species. For example, walleyes might like it slowly without all that motion, whereas smallmouth bass might go after something in a much quicker speed. And you can take the same lure and catch both species if you learn how to differentiate the way you retrieve it. I think it's a good lesson. And until next time, folks, this is Don Meisner with the North Country Fishing Report.